Alright, after that brief stop on the CT2, let's get back to this SL-5. Now, obviously I've cleaned this bar up here, and I've got some grease that we can use to relube this, plus also this thing here, this worm drive. Now what I'd like to do is actually clean this and clean it properly. And I just actually noticed something, and if you look here, can you see there, you can flip those open. I can't see because I'm holding the camera. Let's pause this for a second. And resume. And there it is, it's out. How nice is that? So that means that I can clean this up nicely. I can get rid of all this old greasy goop and re-lube it, and hopefully have this part at least looking very nice. It'd be kind of nice if I could pull that motor out easily and maybe just drop some oil on the bearings and stuff like that, but I'm not sure that I need to actually go that far. I haven't done it before, and I think it's pretty okay. It would make it a little bit easier to clean that, so I might have a little bit of a look and to see if that's also possible to get out almost as easily. But anyway, that was actually something I just discovered. Obviously, be careful. Don't snap those, because if you do, you're going to have a bad time. But anyway, that's going to make that a lot easier. So I'll clean that up and refit that, and then it's basically time for a new belt. Maybe if we can get that a little bit cleaner there as well, that would be nice. But of course, it doesn't really affect anything if this is a bit, whatever. As long as the belt runs nicely, it's okay, because there's no issue with the smoothness or not smoothness out of that. It's completely nothing to do with it. Okay, so after we've messed around with that side, we'll get into this side, get into the mechanism, take these plastics out and repair them. That one there, and of course this one here. And in fact, you can see this one very clearly today because, I don't know, I've got it better lit or better angled or something. Anyway, we'll get this one fixed, and then we'll start looking at, I think then it'll be time to go through the setup procedure again. So, first things first, let's get this cleaned. I'll do that off camera because, well, I'm going to spray some stuff on it and clean it up and then clean this up. It's not riveting, but you can get the idea. The main point is that you've seen how this actually comes out, and if you're careful, you'll get it out too without busting anything. Alright, so let's do that and come back. Alright, I managed to get access to the motor. There's basically a clip here, and then you can push up the whole motor housing, and it's housed in this sort of rubber case. And that anyway, it gets out. You can't pull the whole thing out because there are wires running behind through the hinge and then to the underside. That's fine. I don't really need to get it, but anyway, it gives me nice access now to give that pulley a bit of a clean, because it's pretty junky. And somewhere, where did I put it? I'll show you the other side. There, that looks much better. So I'll do the same to this one here, and hopefully, that's it for this. And I'll maybe just drop in some oil there. I won't take the whole motor apart, it's not really worth it, but just an interesting little tidbit. We can pull this out now. We get the actual model number of the motor, and this is a Matsushita, and 5th of August 1982. So there you go, it's done pretty well. I mean, that's now, it's 40 years old, isn't it? Done well. Okay, so I'll get to cleaning that, and I'll discuss actually a little bit later. No, let's do it now. The way I do it is, let's get everything in shot. use a bit of a toothpick. I like this because it can alter the profile to fit in that groove, and it's about the right size actually, and pretty much everything that you need to clean you can get to with that. I'm using a little bit of medium cut car polish and a bit of metal polish at the end when I want everything looking nice and shiny. I don't go too aggressive with the car polish if I don't need to, just basically as much as I need to get it clean. So the metal polish wasn't quite getting rid of some of the pitting in there, because once that rubber sort of turns into that sort of gooey mess, it tends to react with the moisture and all sorts of things, and maybe it goes a bit acidic or something, I'm not sure. But you need something a little bit more aggressive because you actually get pitting in the metal and you actually want to try and polish that out nice and smooth. So that's the next step, and we'll see if we can't get this all looking nice and clean. Alright, there it is, all nice and clean. I needed to use a slightly more aggressive cutting compound on that. It was pretty bad. It's still not, perfect, but it's going to be good enough for what we need. Like I said, it's not really under a lot of stress or strain. It doesn't affect how smooth anything runs, so yeah, we don't need to really worry about it too much. I'll put all this back together and we'll get on to the next part. Well, wouldn't you know it, as I was buggerising around getting the case on, the wires just snapped off. So nicely marked, blue and red, so I know where they go. I've also got the video from before, I know exactly where they go. These wires look a little bit crusty anyway, so I think we'll just replace these. I've got wire, I think, of the right gauge for that. So I'll replace those. I suppose it would have been easier all round if I'd have just taken it off, but anyway, I just tried to avoid doing extra soldering if I didn't have to. Well, now I have to, so maybe that's a lesson. Just next time, just desolder the things and make your life a little bit easier. Anyway, it looks nice and neat and clean, so let's solder some new wires and hopefully get everything back and running. Alright, so to get this motor back in is actually a bit of a pain in the butt. You've got to get it in here, but then this doesn't really move out of the road enough. So to get enough slack out of the cable, what you need to do is undo, there's 2 screws here and then 2 screws there, and then you've got like a little tab here, and then this allows your hinge mechanism to sort of slide up, and you can get a bit of slack out of the hang on, here it is. Yeah, you can get a bit of slack out of the cable there. So that's what I need to do. Basically, I want to get enough movement there, because there's a part of the rubber that needs to go under there and part that needs to locate up in here somewhere. There. It's just basically not possible without giving yourself some more slack. Even though it sort of came out reasonably okay, getting it back in is a bit of a pain. And there you go, there's the nice new wires soldered up, just waiting for me to get it back in there, and then I'll do the final solder. So, although I planned this video in my head was going to be, let's just clean this up and then start looking at the mech, it's turned out that this is, again, long enough on its own to just be a separate little piece. So there you go. That's the way it goes with these. It's always these little small problems. It's like a 5-minute problem that turns into like a 20-minute fix, and then you got to do more to get it all back in. But it's I guess it's part of the process. Probably I would recommend that if you're going to take the motor apart, let's start by doing this in the first place. Give yourself the slack so that you can actually get everything, you get access to everything a little bit more easily. So, let's continue. Okay, so now this is back together, and I've, you know, resoldered in that motor. What I'm going to do is explain actually the better way, the better procedure for taking that motor out. So what you want to do, now there's one screw here, and you need to undo that, because that screws into there. That tab there needs to be just clicked out and pushed down. And before you get carried away with anything else, undo those screws there, those 4, and if you press these, you'll get those hinge mechanisms to slide up. And once you can do that, then you'll be able to get some slack out of these wires here, and that will allow you then, if we flip this back over, that will then allow you, when you open this up, to actually start pulling this and actually move it a little bit further to the side, because part of this motor hooks under the metal, there's like a metal housing or homing place for that, and then the other side of it goes under this plastic assembly here, which you can't quite see here, but anyway, it goes under there. It's hard to get it back in without doing that. In fact, I couldn't get it back in. And you'll make it a lot easier on yourself if you pull it apart like that too. Now, the other thing is, I'm not actually in a great hurry now to put that worm drive back in there, because the one advantage with having that out now is that this sled is actually very easy to move without it. Once you've got the worm gear in there, you've got to, you know, sit there for ages mucking around with it. So this is kind of nice for now. Just leave it like that. So where this was going to be a video about, you know, do a bit here and then we'll start on this, it's all been about this. So I guess we've put the procedure at the wrong end of it, probably because I discovered it, you know, myself at the, you know, in reverse order. So there you go. I haven't had to actually pull all of that apart on the other one, and I just decided to do it on this one because this one was so bad, and it did make cleaning it up a little bit easier, and also allowed me to get some oil on that motor bearing. So that's going to be it for this video, and we'll chuck all this together and... Radio Blitz.